So I was hoping today maybe to work with you on clearing unexpressed feelings. And the background to this is that almost everyone is carrying around some backlog of emotions and feelings that have been unexpressed in their life and which are still affecting them in their day-to-day life. So it might typically be something that was felt, and under the circumstances you judged it as something that was inappropriate and therefore suppressed the feeling. It might be something in a context with people where you recognize that you can't say that in the context with other people, so you suppress that. And everyone's sort of common belief is that if the emotions are not there now, that they've gone away. That when you ignore these emotions, that then they go away and they have no consequence. But that's not the reality of things. The truth is that you need to express emotions, you need to release emotions immediately when they occur. Otherwise, what happens is that they stay with you. And over time, you build up a backlog of more and more and more emotions. And this backlog can become very powerful, especially when some of these emotions are things that you've maybe been holding since your childhood. So, for instance, it's not unusual that someone has the experience of being angry at their parents, but they're not allowed to express this anger toward their parents. So they hold on to that anger. And over time, that anger becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Or maybe it's that something in your childhood leaves you feeling really sad and really depressed. And you have this feeling of sadness and depression, but you're not supposed to be feeling sadness or depression. So you constantly cover it up and push it back down inside of you. What happens, of course, is that later in life, these feelings, these emotions are striving to become expressed. And what happens is often they show up in situations that seemingly are unconnected to them. So you might be in everyday conversation and suddenly have this emotional feeling about something that isn't appropriate to what's being discussed. But there it is, this emotion's flowing out of you. Or, that you have quiet moments and you're quiet into yourself and then whoosh, up comes this emotion that's been long suspended within you. So we need to clear these unexpressed feelings and emotions because otherwise they can begin to take over our life. We clear the emotions of the past so that you can step into the present moment, to be totally present in the moment and to feel whatever it is you're feeling right now. It might be too that part of that feeling of being in the moment is being free to feel neutral. So we're going to do a version of clearing unexpressed feelings. This is a little different from what's in the book, a somewhat expanded version, and I hope this will be useful to you. And of course, first thing we'll do is set space, and then we'll ask you to focus on some feeling like this that you recognize as part of your life, something that comes up in unexpected times, or something that you know is almost always there in you trying to be expressed, the feeling that you carry with you day to day. Any kind of unexpressed feeling, whatever it is that you want to bring up for clearing. So you'll need to bring it up and focus on it and intensify it for the purposes of healing that follows. Okay? Yes. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is set space, and you can set space in whatever way is most appropriate for you. I'm going to call in an entire sphere of oneness, like I always do. So I now ask for an entire sphere of oneness to be placed all around and through me. An entire sphere of oneness all around and through me. an entire sphere of oneness all around and through me. And by this, I dedicate myself. I dedicate myself to coming into alignment with harmony, with oneness. It's the highest alignment that I can understand and grasp. And we're going to ask for the presence of our guides and helping spirits. You can ask for whatever spirits are the ones that you're most comfortable working with. I'm going to start off by asking for the presence of those from the most highly evolved worlds to be present and give guidance to this work. And I ask for those among the high-dimensional healers, teachers, and guides who can assist this work to come and be with me. And I ask for the presence of the archangels, and I ask for the presence of those ascended masters who can be of assistance to this work. And I'm going to ask for a connection to the earth, to Mother Earth, Pachamama, Gaia, known by 1,000 names. And I ask to be connected to the earth in acknowledgement of the fact that I'm a child of the cosmos and a child of the earth. Whew, okay. So now, for the rest of this, you may want to close your eyes and to help concentrate. I'm going to keep my eyes open as I guide you through this. So now, to think about that feeling or emotion that is the unexpressed one that needs to come up and have full expression, needs to be fully acknowledged in order to be released. To think about it, focus on it, and let it intensify. Feel it as strongly as you can. Feel it. Let yourself feel it. And if you're a little afraid of being overwhelmed, just let the process emerge slowly. And let it be as intense as is comfortable for you. Okay. Now what I want you to do is to imagine a symbol for that emotion or feeling. A symbol that represents its nature, its qualities. It could be something abstract. It could be something that's an object from the everyday world. It's whatever it is that for you might represent that feeling or emotion. When you have it, I want you to visualize it floating in space in front of you. Just imagine it, that symbol is there in front of you, floating in space. And when you have that, I want you to visualize that there's a bubble around that object. A bubble around the object and also holding space around the object. A bubble that contains that symbol for the feeling. And you can imagine that this bubble is going to be holding that feeling, that emotion within it. That it fills that bubble. Okay. And when you're ready, and focusing on that bubble, take your hands and place your hands around it. So it's like you're holding that bubble between your hands. And feel what's inside of that bubble. Feel that emotion or feeling. Now what we're going to do is to add to that bubble everything within us that supports that feeling. Everything that helps us to feel that is supporting of that. So if you have memories of the past that are connected to this feeling, then put those memories inside of the bubble. If you have beliefs about what happened that brought about this feeling, if it's anger and you have beliefs about why you're angry, put those beliefs inside this bubble. If it's sadness, the story about why you're feeling sad, put that inside the bubble. Whatever kind of thoughts you have, whatever kind of images you have, everything that's related to this feeling, this emotion, place it all in there. All of this is the baggage, the baggage associated with this feeling. And if there are behaviors you recognize in yourself that are connected to this feeling and emotion, maybe it's a sense of fear that takes you into denial, and you realize that you have a pattern of denying this, then ask that your pattern of denial be placed in the bubble. So what we've done now is we've created a bubble that contains the limited reality of this feeling or emotion, the limited reality that supports it, the reasons why you would feel it, the history of your feeling it, everything in you that supports that feeling, we're placing into the bubble to be the limited reality in which feeling that emotion is a natural consequence, that it makes sense, that it almost completely guides you into feeling this feeling or emotion. And when you feel that's very complete, recognize that you're on the outside looking at it. You're on the outside of this bubble looking at this bubble. And you are outside the limited reality in which that bubble operates. That limited reality is something that you can be in or out of. And if you're outside observing it, looking at yourself, looking at the feeling, you're outside the bubble. And from outside the bubble, you can see it for exactly what it is. So now, in order to clear this feeling, emotion, and the whole reality associated with it, we ask for an entire sphere of oneness to be placed around and through this bubble. An entire sphere of oneness around and through the bubble. An entire sphere of oneness around and through the bubble. And sense for yourself what that means. That within this entire sphere of oneness, everything is brought to alignment and harmony with oneness. And the entire sphere of oneness and this bubble cannot exist together. They cannot coexist. So the entire sphere of oneness begins to dissolve away the borders around that bubble, begins to dissolve away the content of that bubble. And we ask for an entire sphere of purity to be placed around that bubble. And by that, everything that's out of alignment with your true self, that's in the bubble of that feeling or emotion, that begins to be dissolved away. And we ask for an entire sphere of balance to be placed around that bubble. And therefore, everything that's out of balance in that bubble, that begins to be taken back into balance. The imbalances are rectified. everything that supports the limited reality of that bubble begins to be shifted away. And we ask for an entire sphere of clarity around that bubble, an entire sphere of clarity that takes everything there that was in the third dimensional world and helps us to see it in a broader spiritual context, in a high dimensional context, where we begin to understand that the limitations of our third dimensional reality are not the end of the story. There's a broader context to everything that happens with us. And we ask for an entire sphere of harmony to be placed around this bubble. And the entire sphere of harmony begins to take away all the separations, even the separations that are, in fact, the bubble itself. The bubble is a separation. It's something that holds the separate reality together. That begins to break away. And every separation that was a part of the feelings, emotion, the thoughts, the beliefs behind this, all of that begins to be stripped away in light of the oneness of all things, one energy, one divine light. It's all sacred energy. And by this we come to a point where the only thing we're holding is an Antares sphere of oneness. The bubble of our unexpressed emotion and feeling has dissolved away. You can hold this as long as you need. At some point it will feel complete to you. You're ready to let go. And this is when you come into the experience of being released from that unexpressed feeling and emotion. And the more you do this, the more and more you find that you come into a place I can describe as a kind of emotional neutrality, where you don't have to feel one way or the other. You can take feelings as for exactly what they are. Take them in the moment. Whatever is here now, we take. And also, whatever feeling or emotion needs to be expressed, we express immediately and release. Immediately and release. So, with lots of love and light, we end here.